if you're going to learn anything from this series, you want to get back to that point. And we've disagreed a little bit about this, John. I still feel like compared to the league, the Celtics are in a decent chance with that, in a decent spot with that, rather. But it's gotten worse, obviously, with Horford and Holiday and Porzingis, even some of your offensive facilitators going out the door. You still have Tatum, you still have Brown, you still have Derek White, who played poorly for much of last year. But you don't have as much as the Knicks do. And that's the amazing thing, right? Because they built this roster with the wing stoppers, and you're like, oh, they're trying to match the Celtics, but they also unlock so much offensively through those guys. OG Anunoby doing what he did out of the corners. Bridges, I know he gets a lot of crap, but it's a great player to have if you can have that as a luxury.
Look, you want another takeaway? Because everyone always wants to look at, and this will dovetail very much into our next conversation, and a lot of the reason I'm talking about it here. Look at this team, okay? With the Spurs, like, I don't know who thought they were supposed to be the man, right? On any given time in a critical possession of the game, any one of a million guys could jack up a shot thinking like, hey, it's cool if I shoot it. And that includes a bench guy like Harper, or Castle or Fox. I mean, late in the game, I'm like, oh, Brunson would score a big basket and then Fox would come up and pull up with a shot. I'm like, is that what they want? They want Fox to go ISO here. What do you have on the Knicks side? A bunch of guys who know their roles. Okay. Yeah. They play exactly the way they're supposed to play. Okay. And Anunoby's not out there shooting 25 times a game. He's there. He'll hit his shots. He'll pick his spots. Towns, again, same thing. Josh Hart, whatever. I mean, role player, absolutely. Bridges, hey, 3-and-D, that's what I'm here for. I know exactly what I'm here to do. Mitchell Robinson, I'm just grabbing boards, baby. Like, they know what they're here to do, and there's no question about it. And that matters. Late in the game, you have a better idea of like what's going on. The Spurs had no friggin' idea what they were doing
these
late in the game.
Games, two different worlds.
Two different worlds.
And the series swings along that. I'm shocked we're sitting here 5 games in and it's
and
over,
you want to look back. Why. You want to look back at the conference finalists as well. I mean, again, teams that made it further than the Celtics. Absolutely, you can look at that. You can look at the Cavs, and they have a guy, and they know what they're doing there. And the OKC knows what they're doing, and the Celtics have this. Well, can't both our guys be good? And maybe Jalen should get the ball late. Maybe Tatum again. It's a good problem to have more than one person who can score from you. You don't want to be overly dependent. But you look at the Knicks and we talk about their roster construction. They're a team that has a bunch of guys who can do a bunch of different things and knows their roles. And then you've got one alpha scorer, and that's it. And that's how they're constructed. And you had a coach who, you got the most out of those guys and, made the adjustments when it mattered.
Yeah, and I think you've mentioned many times them getting the supporting cast and the guys to minimize their weaknesses, and that was important in the many cases where they did across the board on that roster that won it all. But I also think those two got much better at those things, Tatum, Brown, at the passing, at the setting the table offensively. Is it still the best way for them to progress forward? We can debate that, but I think when they reach their height,
they're better, Bobby. They're better, Bobby. But again, when Tatum leans into it, he can be among the better playmaking forwards in the league, if not the best. But like I said, he has to fully embrace that LeBron role. That comes down to, what am I? I'm the facilitator. Mm-hmm. That's what I do first. I got so much shit for one of those tweets in the playoffs. Like, this is the best version of Tatum, the one who doesn't shoot 25 times a game and is looking at you pass the ball and everyone's like, shut up, loser, and like, whatever. I'm right. You'll figure it out eventually and then think it was your idea. But like, it is the best version.
We got another one of those coming up here, it looks like.
With my tweets?
Yeah.
All I did was piss people off this week.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is key for Tatum. It's key for Brown. They both have to embrace and take on that mindset, or it's not going to work because no one else does that job on the roster. And it's a weird place to be in when your point or lead ball handler isn't your best player. But that is where you need to have those guys improve at that. And they have. And I think, we're going to have a conversation to some degree this offseason. Do you bring in a point guard? Do you bring in a guy who can just command the ball and run the offense? And that's what they did with Marcus Smart. I don't think a lot of people like that. Not to say Smart was the
But
perfect
he
point
wasn't
guard
that
for
guy.
that.
They haven't had that guy. They haven't a
But
guy
who
like that
is
since
that
Rondo.
guy today?
I know you
Brunson?
just look. I think people misunderstand the term playmaker, thinking playmaker is like I'm Ricky Rubio and I just dribble around and I make passes and I can't shoot. We need a Rubio type. There was a period of time where people said shit like that. Playmaking, playmaking is the ability to be a threat to score and pass, beat your guy off the dribble and shoot. It's a playmaker makes plays. That's what it comes down to is like I I am a
You can do
threat.
it in many ways too. Horford and
I
Cornette were
have
great.
Sure, but I have my own gravity. If you put the ball in my hands, I can create 2-on-1s. I can beat people off the dribble. I can get into the paint. I can get the ball out to shooters. Like I'm the problem. Like they haven't had a point guard to do that, so they rely on Tatum to do that. But while Tatum makes great reads off of doubles, Tatum is not the bring the ball up the court and set the offense player. Like it's just that's not his best. That's not So you're always lacking that. You're lacking that explosive kind of playmaking point guard who can create those advantages for you. And they've been without that for a while. It worked, but you needed so much to make it work. You look at the Knicks, you know, no, they're not as good as the 2024 Celtics. Certainly not the same depth, but like they were constructed in a way where you had grown-ups and veterans and people who were good and excelled in their roles all over the place, and everything just flowed. You could just go out and play, and you'd always find people who can make the right play, make the right read, make the shots when it mattered. That's what you had. That's what the Celtics had there. That's why they won. That's why they could survive Jason Tatum shooting 30% in the finals. Because they had so many other people there to pick up the slack. These Celtics don't. They're lacking professional basketball players. So I guess if you want one takeaway, you got kind of one of two ways to play this, Bobby, with the Celtics. To me, if you're going to go forward with the Brown and Tatum thing and build around the edges, you need to just say, I got to add veterans. I got to find a way to add people who know what they're supposed to be doing there and hope that the kids develop, but I can't be relying on Walshes and Ugos. I don't want to say, I'm not saying do that.
Hey.
I'm if it happens organically, that's great. But if you want to build around these guys and get back to contention, you probably need to put more adults in the room again and have a bunch of guys out there who can do what they could do. They sorely missed the leadership and the ability of these guys to, do the right thing. The Horford, Porzingis when he was healthy, Holiday. I mean, the amount that they lost in a year is insane, just in terms of those types of players and who they tried to replace them with. And again, testament to those guys for doing it. Or you do that semi blow up rebuild. You trade a Jalen type piece for parts. You get younger, more athletic. You do bring in some veterans, so it's not just Tatum and a bunch of kids, and you build that way with more role players, and you try to recreate Brown in the aggregate and just have players who can do more things and make this a Tatum-centric team and build around that. Those are the two things we're talking about. If you like to play, Prize Picks is the place for you. NBA is over. It is what it is. They're the preferred partner of the NBA, but it doesn't matter. There's so many other things that you can get in on the action here if you check out Prize Picks today. And again, that includes women's basketball. That includes that little soccer tournament we've talking about. MMA fight on the White House lawn. Sure, if that's your thing, get in on the action on America's #1 sports pick app. Super easy to use. You know how it works by now. 2 to 6 player stat projections, more or less. Mix and match the goals. If you mix and match the games, stay in one sport. As long as you're picking at least one per team, you can do it in one game. You can stack sports up to 3 per player if you think somebody's going to have a particularly strong night or struggle. However you want to play it here, a lot of different options, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool promotions during the week that you want to make sure that you check out. But the most important thing is that if you download the app today, use code CLNS, you get 50 in your lineups when you play 5. Once again, download that app today, code CLNS to get 50 in your lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, Prize Picks preferred partner of the NBA.